G'day guys. So part 2 of our little video series of showing you a pre-build and then a post-build. So jump onto our YouTube channel to check out the pre-build part 1 of this particular video. So just to summarize a little bit, this customer is a returning customer of ours. We did a build on their previous van with a similar system, slightly smaller to the one that we've done on this. So this van is literally a month old. They picked it up from the dealer a month ago and have, fortunately for them, booked it in 6 months ago with us, so they knew what they were going to do. So what we've done is the van came with Manager 30, as you can see over here. We've taken that out and we've put in a Redarc system basically with a Supreme monitoring package. So as we discussed in the pre-build video, Manager 30 was under the seat.
Under the bed.
And sorry, under the bed. Manager 30 was under the bed, and the AGM batteries that came with the van are down on the chassis. In fact, they aren't even AGM batteries, they're just standard deep cycle batteries. So we've consolidated, we've removed everything from underneath the bed. The owner's actually going to put a caged area underneath there so they can utilize that space. And we've moved everything to under the seat here. So what we've ended up putting in is 560 amp hour battery, Redarc's new 3000 watt inverter charger, 3000 watt 100 amp charging functionality inverter charger. We've got 2 MPPTs and we've got a DC-DC charger, plus all the Supreme monitoring, fusing, isolation and everything underneath the seat. Now this build, when we, so with most of our builds we like to build on top of the wheel arch. Unfortunately with this particular caravan, the caravan manufacturer has now changed their design, so they're using pre-molded plastic wheel arches. So that makes things a little bit more complicated for us because we can't put anything on top of those. So what we've done is build around that. So we have our inverter charger down here in the corner. You can see that's mounted up against the front of the seat. We've got our 2 batteries. In between the wheel arch and the front of the seat. Custom lithium battery compact range fits very nicely in here. We've got an isolator, inverter fuse. The type of inverter fuse that we've used there is a Class T fuse, because these fuses handle the currents that are going to be going through that more regularly than smaller fuses. And then we've got all of our charging features, chargers underneath here with our Supreme and isolation. All labelled, all ducted and contained underneath this seat. So as you can see from that space is now completely taken up with electrical gear. We can talk about the need to comply to the particular standard with regards to lithium batteries, AS3001. We are still in a grace period at the moment with that, so although by November 28 this year, 2023, we will need to comply to that. At this point in time, that is compliant to the standard in accordance with how we need to do it.
And we've got a solution.
And we absolutely have a solution for that when it's time to comply to that. That's a whole nother story and a whole nother conversation. Some people in industry, we're all left a little bit scratching our heads with the reasoning behind all of that. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So as we will always do, all of our 240 volt cabling is fully integrated into the van. So the way we do that is we break into the existing 240 volt circuit the van manufacturers put in, and we put the inverter in the appropriate location for the specific application. So in this van, the mains inlet is the first point, the switchboard is the second point, and the inverter charger is the third point. So there's nothing else that is in this van that is fed from mains. Everything is able to be fed from inverter in this particular van. Because the inverter charger is a charger, we don't need to add another circuit in for that. That's already the first point in the circuit. So that got broken in half. We added that in. All the cabling actually runs through the back of the fridge. So the difference, I suppose, between us and say an auto electrician that might use a third-party Sparky for this type of build is we think about the build from a holistic perspective. How are we going to run cables? Where do we need to run cables to? How does the solar integrate? How does all the communication cabling integrate? So we actually think about that holistically. All of our cabling that we run inside this van is compliant to AS3000, AS3001, which is the actual electrical standard. So we clip, mechanically protect, and do everything we need to do from that perspective to make sure that the full build is compliant, not just the 240 volt part. So our whole build is compliant to the standard. Does it take a little bit longer to do? Absolutely it does, but it's done properly and it's done in accordance with the relevant standards, so that when you leave here you get a certificate from us, an electrical safety certificate saying that it's compliant. So,
which I guess is relevant when you try to insure or if you make a claim.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're the two major things that are the insurance is obviously a big key thing, and if something ever does go wrong with your van and you've had somebody not qualified, then the insurer may not pay out on that. It's just something that we are very cognizant of because we are licensed electrical contractors in this space.
So Dan, you design the system at one time for the 12 volt and the 240 volt,
Yep.
and then you're the only person doing that complete build from start to finish. So design from start to finish,
Yep.
integrating both 12 and 240 volt,
Yep.
and then you do that build yourself as well. So you're not outsourcing anything.
Nothing. Everything is done in-house. So from the time the conversation starts at the beginning, we start talking about what appliances you'd like to run, the type of van that you've got, the type of camping that you do. Do you live in your van? Are you a weekend warrior? Do you want to go for an extended trip? All of those conversations come into play, and they all are taken into consideration with the design that we do. And then I do some calculations based on usage essentially, and how much roof space you've got and what type of van it is, and all the various things that we need to understand to come to a solution that is going to work for your particular application. So this build actually started life a little bit differently. We were going to use a 2600 watt inverter and a separate battery charger, but after Enerdrive released this particular inverter, which we did know was coming, we just weren't sure when it was coming, we decided to swap that out and put the inverter charger in. And in this particular build, it's actually worked out in our favour because we were limited for space underneath this seat with not being able to use the top of the wheel arch for mounting. The inverter charger is a single unit, it's not two separate units. It does take up a little bit less space. So in that sense, it's worked out really nicely for that build. So flowing on from cable runs and all of that type of compliance stuff that we were talking about before, we obviously worked through where we're going to mount all of our monitoring equipment. So in this build, we've got two separate monitors, which is generally the same for most of the builds, but
so one for inverter,
one for battery monitoring, system monitoring. So Cymarines ended up in the overhead cupboard where Manager 30 screen was previously. So that space there is essentially where Manager 30 was. You might be able to actually hear the air conditioner running at the moment, so it might be a little bit noisy, but the system is actually running off inverter at the moment, so we're running on battery. Solar's coming in, and then around the corner here.
Just on the noise with the inverter being, the inverter being on, the air conditioner being on. I think it's fair to mention that at the moment the cushions aren't on.
Yeah.
And so there's little holes there that all the noise can escape from. So when the cushions are on, you don't hear this noise. I mean, we know that from our own caravan.
Correct.
And obviously once we put all the cushions on, the noise is gone.
Yeah, that's right. So, the air conditioner is what it is. It's just air flowing through, so it obviously makes a little bit of noise. Just as an aside as well, at the moment we've actually got the three-way fridge running on inverter as well. So there's two appliances running at the same time at the moment. So the fridge and the air conditioner all running.
So you're load testing?
Doing some load testing, some functionality testing, which is all part of the process that we go through. We spend a lot of time post-build on making sure that the testing is done properly. So I'll switch on as much as I can possibly switch on. The hot water system can be turned on. We'll go and test all the points. We'll make sure that there's enough solar coming in. We test the DC-DC charger by plugging the vehicle in. We test the portable input by plugging a portable panel in. So we do go through the whole build and we test absolutely everything to make sure that everything is actually functioning as it should be. So around the corner here, we've actually mounted the inverter controller. So then the new inverter, the new EnerDrive inverter charger screen is mounted here. It's actually underneath a switchboard and some other DC circuit breakers which come with the van. So we obviously have our inverter controller here, and the inverter controller is quite nice. It gives you a little bit of functionality, a little bit of usability and information that you can go through and have a look at how much energy you're using. So 0.85 kilowatts or 850 watts. That's your battery voltage. That's the battery current. So at the moment, you can see that we're using 71.7 amps. If that was charging, because it is an inverter charger, it would say the same thing, but you would see a different symbol here saying that it's charging instead of AC out. So in the corner here, you can see that's just saying AC out. Yeah, you obviously turn your inverter on and off here. This inverter charger, because it is an inverter charger, has the ability to change battery profiles, charge currents. You can set whether you want it to be a changeover or not. So there's just some additional nice functionality with these particular inverter chargers that have just come out on the market that make, I suppose, the functionality within your van a little bit more, just gives you a little bit more functionality.
So more details, so you can understand better, your usage, so
Yep.
you can make a better judgment call maybe if you are going to be off grid and you've hit some questionable weather.
Yep. Helps you understand how much usage you've got at the specific time. So basically we've still got our Supreme system up here, which once again we do, we give as much information as practical up here. So we'll talk about solar as well. So this van came with 840 watts, which is a fairly decent amount. We've actually only needed to put another 300 watts because this van, being a 21-foot van, actually already had a caravan mounted on it. 4 solar panels. It's got a 3-way fridge, so it's got a roof-mounted vent on the roof. The customer wasn't prepared to lose their TV antenna, so there was quite limited space up there. There's 2 hatches in the rear, 1 hatch in the front. So there's quite a lot of roof space taken up with various bits and pieces. So they've still ended up with 1140 watts of solar on the roof. So that's still a good amount to be able to do what we need to do with this particular build. So at the moment, specifically looking at solar with 1140 watts and overcast overhead conditions outside.
Yeah, it's overcast.
We're still getting 52 amps of charge through to the battery from solar. So at the top you got your 840, you got your 300. So it's almost 36 amps from 840 and nearly 17 from your 300. So that's, you know, like I say, we're running the fridge, running the aircon.
And I know as a standard, Dan, you normally put a extra external
Yep.
Anderson for portable solar panels.
Correct.
Have you done that with this one?
Have.
Just
Yep.
one or two for this van?
Just one for this van. These guys have got a portable 200 watt blanket, I believe, that they take with them. So, you know, if they really feel like they need to, they want to drive the system a little bit harder, they can get that guy out and plug it in. That's cabled up through the DC-DC, so that can take a 600 watt input on that. So yeah, that's basically a fairly reasonable overview of the system. It's from start to finish, it's actually quite a substantial amount of work that goes into these builds. There's a few things that we do to make the build a bit neater. You know, as I said before, a bit more compliant with cable runs, and just the various bits and pieces that we need to do to make sure that you get a quality build at the end of the day. So
Dan, I know you're a service agent for Enerdrive, and they send you lots of doozies. If something sort of pops up, you're the
Yep.
person they refer to. In terms of, you know, things can go wrong. So
Yep.
let's say this client drives away and they're in the middle of nowhere, they have an issue, they would call you,
Yep.
and so you're their one point of call because
correct.
you've done the complete installation from start to finish. So you would look after that regardless of whether it's what components it is. You wouldn't send them off to deal with it themselves. You would be their one point of call if they have any concerns or issues or...
That's right. And I suppose the benefit of us doing from design through to commissioning of the whole build is that we know each and every build that we do, the general, we know the build quality. Obviously, we know generally that the installation is sound. If there is a component fault, we go through the process of doing a little bit of fault finding with you first.
So you assume complete responsibility?
Absolutely. We get you to do some testing, you know, turning things on, turning things off, just having a look at whether something is behaving as it should be. You know, if it's a component fault, then we, on your behalf, process. We start the warranty process basically, and start the conversation with the manufacturer. And if it is an Enerdrive product that has failed, for example, then we go about sorting that out with Enerdrive, and they will then point in the direction of their nearest service agent. So they will send the product to the nearest service agent, and then that'll get swapped out. So,
and it's not that it happens often, but
doesn't
it's that
happen often.
reassurance that if something does go wrong, the customer's not getting
left in nowhere. Yep.
Or passed on to somebody else rather than, you know, just a one point of call where you deal with it.
Correct.
And, you know, knowing you well, that you're a bit of a nerd, so you don't mind a bit of a curly question and fault finding, so you can do that over the phone by providing some information.
Yeah. So we certainly once you leave us, that's not it. Basically, what we try and point of this conversation, I suppose, is to make you understand that once you leave us, you're our client forever. If there's something that goes wrong, then we're there to support you. Lots of our clients will attest to that, even if it's just I've forgotten how to use something, how do I use this again, Dan? So I get those questions a lot, which is completely fine as well. So I guess from here, the client will come and pick up the van tomorrow, so we're going to spend the rest of the day. I'm just going to leave everything running as it is. We're not, significantly stressing the system out at the moment. Like I say, it's just the air conditioner and the fridge, which, just the air conditioner and the fridge, but we started the day with the van batteries at 90%, so I left a little bit of load on the system last night. So we charged the system up fully yesterday, started the van this morning at 90%, pulled it out in the sun at about 8 o'clock in the morning and turned everything on. And at the moment it is 20 past 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So 20 past 1 in the afternoon, van's been in the sun for 5 hours running, and we're down to 83% with the air conditioner running on 20 degrees and the 3-way fridge running on 240 as well. So pretty comfortable the system's going to function and operate nicely for them.
What else do you reckon they could turn on? So if they wanted to, what other appliances that might typically be used? The pump, how'd that go?
So yeah, the pump, we'll just turn the pump on and just make sure there's some water in the hot water system, and I'll turn the hot water service on as well. Yeah, we're full, got water in the hot water system. So that's something else with your hot water systems. Just make sure they're full of water before you turn them on electric, because they'll fry the element pretty quickly. So now you can see we're pulling quite a lot of load out of the battery. So the hot water service is now on, and we're pulling 1.8 kilowatts, so 1800 watts. So that is now air conditioner, hot water system, and 3-way fridge, all running on inverter, off the batteries. So
that's impressive.
yeah, it's you know, and again, it's an overcast, cloudy day, but I might even leave the hot water service on now and just let that sort of heat up. They take about 45 minutes to heat from cold, so 1000 watts, 45 minutes. You're probably looking at 775 amp hours it'll take out of the battery if it was just to do nothing else. So, all right. So just as a bit of a wrap up. Again, check out the part 1 of this video, pre-build. This was 2 parts just to show you the process that we go through. Maybe a point of difference to others in this industry, and the detail that we go to make sure that you end up with a quality build at the end of the day. Any questions, let us know. Don't hesitate to make comments on any of the social media. We look forward to hearing from you. Cheers, guys.